Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Good to be with you today. We're talking about grace, mercy, and peace. These are the three words that Paul introduced his letter to young Timothy. And Paul, who was sitting in his dark, stinking prison, wrote this letter, and he just reminded himself of the wonder of God's grace and the depth of God's mercy. We're kind of stuck on this thing called mercy. I can't get over it. The wonder of a pure and a holy God, a God who cannot look upon sin, a God who in essence is just totally, holy in every aspect of who he is, having mercy upon people like us, people in the world, people like me. We are recipients of mercy, and therefore we get the gift of grace. Now, when I think of Jesus coming to earth, that's one of the most merciful acts of God, that he would send Jesus. But Jesus came with a message of mercy to the world. He did this by word, and he did it by deed. Think of some of the words that Jesus spoke about mercy and some of the examples that he gave. Think of that beautiful example of the story of the prodigal son. Here's a guy who went in the face of his dad, trashed his dad's reputation, took his inheritance, went off and squandered it, was a total embarrassment to his father. And yet his father reached out with a loving hand of mercy and said, "Son, you're welcome home." And we get this beautiful picture of this father hitching up his robe, and he runs down the road and he throws his arms around his prodigal, and he welcomes that kid back. And the kid is so shocked. He says, "Dad, aren't you mad with me?" And the father says, "Well, I didn't like what you did, man, but no matter what you do, I will always love you. No matter where you go, no matter what you become, I will always love you." You see, love is the big word that encapsulates grace and mercy. Mercy is the passion of God that makes grace great for us and the gift to us. But it's all encapsulated by the wonder of the love of God. And Jesus told story after story after story to illustrate the wonder of the passion of God to give mercy to people. He did it in word. But then I find it intriguing too that Jesus didn't just talk about it, because we all know that talk is cheap and it's easy to talk a good story. But then we see how Jesus in the book of Mark just gave mercy to people. He gave it to them. Just think, my favorite one is that story of the leper who snuck into town to meet with Jesus, and Jesus sees him, and Jesus reaches out his hand and does the unspeakable thing of touching the leper, and everybody saying, "Jesus, don't touch him. God, Jesus, can't you see that he's a leper? Jesus, rather, let's just tie a rope around his foot, stone him to death, and drag him out of town." And Jesus says, "No, we're not going to do that today. We're going to show mercy to this man who needs it so desperately." And Jesus reached out. He didn't just touch the man. I believe he embraced that man. Who would embrace a leper? Who would even touch a leper? But Jesus did. And so in word and in deed, the nature of God in his totality is pictured in the beauty of the essence of Jesus' behavior, not just in deed, but in every word that he spoke. Just read the Gospels and you see it over and over and over again, word and deed, that Jesus is talking about the wonder of God's mercy. And then also he talks about the unbelievable wonder of us giving mercy to others. Remember, we spoke on Friday last week about the unmerciful servant. People, if you have received of the mercy of God, then you need to give it to the people around you. Because if you don't give it, then it probably proves that you never got it. But if you're a recipient of God's mercy and a wonder of his gift of grace, then you need to give mercy to those in your life who may just need it. So think about that today. And I hope that you will do exactly that. But I want you to develop an ever-growing picture of Jesus, the mercy of God in human form. That God said, "I love you people so much, I'm going to send somebody who's going to epitomize everything that I am." So he sends who he is in the form of Jesus. Jesus, the Son of God, came to show mercy to the world. People, where would we be without it? Okay, I think I've said enough about mercy, but I hope you get it. Tomorrow we're going to talk a bit about peace. But have a great day. Cheers, bye.